Welcome to episode 404 of the DFO Rundown, as always brought to you by Bet365. Get in the game. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Use the promo code NATION, NATION, for all sorts of fun. Stay within your limits. I'm Jason Greger, and of course, it's a new season of the Rundown, and we have a new guest host. Of course, we'll have Merrick with us on Mondays, and we have former NHLer, Stanley Cup winner, the hero of Game 7. Of course, when a young Mike Rupp in 2003 helped the Devils win a Stanley Cup, and he will be our regular Friday contributor. Mikey, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, buddy. I'm happy to be on here with you. Excited that we get our hot stove and we get to put it on camera now, because we did that during the Stanley Cup Finals there in Edmonton. Get hot stove, and we love that stuff. So we can, let people kind of in on those conversations. I love it.
Yeah, no, it should be a lot of fun. Obviously you played for a long time in the NHL, and quick, just for our audience maybe who doesn't know you, what kind of piqued your interest to want to get into the media side? Because obviously you've been doing the NHL Network for quite some time and other shows.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that so my good buddy I played with, Kevin Weeks, he made that transition. He was on Hockey Night in Canada, and I would talk to Weeksy, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something, needed to do something when I was done playing. Had some of the options potentially to get involved with a team, which I really wanted to do and kind of still do want to do. But just with the kids' ages, I wanted to have a little more command of my schedule. So, I just kind of did it because I didn't know what else to do. And I really enjoyed it and loved it and feel connected doing it. So, it's kind of just taken off from there. And just kind of as a player and on the media side, can't wait for the season to start.
How many kids you got?
5 kids. Yeah. So, it's,
what ages are your kids?
So I got 5. There's, my first marriage, I had 4, and the kids are 23, 21, 15 and 13, or sorry, okay. 16 and 13. And, both just had birthdays. And then, I've got a newborn now, so 9-month-old. So starting this thing all over again. And it's fun. I enjoy doing this, and I think the kids get a kick out of it too, because they're on their phones all the time and they get to see me come across once in a while.
Oh, well, you know what? Hey, they see dad on TikToks, even though you're not on TikTok, they see you on TikTok. So now you're kind of cool, right? I get how that works. So that's awesome. Well, hey, we're going to have lots of fun all year long. I know we'll have some good discussions, good debates on a lot of things. And I do want to get, first of all, into the preseason. My God, I just want to say, thankfully, this is the last year of 8 and 6 and 7 preseason games. There's only going to be 4 moving forward. Some of them have been slogs of slogs. But tonight in Pittsburgh will be very different. Something we really have never seen that I can recall. Players coming back. Lots of guys have come back, signed a 1-day contract with their former team to retire as a member of that organization. Marc-Andre Fleury, of course, really beloved everywhere he's went. And even on teams he didn't play, fans seem to like him. But he's back in Pittsburgh. He signed a PTO. He's going to play a preseason game tonight. And my understanding is it's going to be sold out in Pittsburgh. Yeah. And I'm assuming, Fleury's, it's a unique chance, Rupper, to get to say goodbye in that regard for a player. You don't see it very often. And I'm not sure this is going to become the norm. It's a pretty unique situation.
It is a unique situation. You're talking about one of the most universally loved guys in the NHL. And obviously he had his being drafted in Pittsburgh. Most people know him more so as the Pittsburgh Penguin, right? And that's where he won 3 Stanley Cups. He's just a special guy, and I think that's why this is kind of a special occasion. He's had some great send-offs already in Pittsburgh, right? Like we've seen other games where he's passing through, whether it was with Minnesota. I mean, man, when he was coming through, even with Chicago, you didn't know, how much longer Flower is going to be playing, and how many more times the great fans of Pittsburgh can experience him as an opponent. This one feels a little different for me because, again, they kind of had those moments. But I think maybe the sad part, I got to play with these guys and live in Western Pennsylvania for quite a long time in my life. The core group there is really special to the Pittsburgh Penguins fan base. And I think more so than giving him his, say, send off. I mean, we see in sports teams reacquire a guy to retire as, on their team, like a Penguin in this case for Flower. But the fact to play a game, I think that's more to honor the core guys,
Oh,
the
okay.
Crosby, Malkin, Letang,
Letang.
and Flower. Though that's the big four that
Yeah,
obviously was in Pittsburgh for all those years, and they're great friends. And so I think that's the bigger thing. And we know that that would be an end. Well, obviously, Flower retiring, but I also think it's sad in some regards too because this is the last year. The other three will be together, I believe. So
agreed.
it's going to be an emotional night, cool night, fun night. Going to be a packed house. Going to be nuts.
Yeah, well, Malkin's in the last year of his contract in Pittsburgh and hasn't been in the playoffs in 3 years. And unless the Penguins, I think, surprise some people and are in the contender, I think he's getting moved, and that's going to open up
Yeah.
the door for maybe Sidney Crosby, and we'll see. I know tonight Penguin fans don't want to think about that; they just want to reminisce and have fun, and that'll be fine. It's also going to be probably the highest paid preseason ticket that I can recall. Tickets starting at 90 bones. That's the starting rate for a preseason game tonight, and people are going to pay it. That's what's crazy.
You know, it's funny too. I was looking at it, and I mean, this is just the nature of the business, man. It's a business at the end of the day, too. And you want to, if you can get a sold out gate in preseason, so be it, man. And that's what Pittsburgh's doing here. I also saw the Penguins posted on their social media today as well that none of the Flower gear, shirts, hats, whatever it is, or whatever's going to commemorate the night will be available till game time. So you can't just go down to PPG Paints Arena, walk in and be like, all right, I'm going to go get my, I don't know what they have. Maybe they have bobbleheads, the shirts, hats, whatever. And just, that's going to commemorate this night. And I'm not going to go to the game. I'll go watch it at home. No. You're only allowed to get that stuff as well if you're at the game. So it's going to sell out, and all that memorabilia, I'm sure, is going to sell out too. So nice little business move there for the Penguins.
Now, Rupper, you had the chance to play for 2 seasons with the Penguins. Were you ever a recipient of the famous Marc-Andre Fleury prank?
I feel like not like a big one. Flower was so good. I remember we had the Road to the Winter Classic. We had HBO following us around, and he had that. He put a couple big pranks on that one. You get to witness some of them. He did just like a lot of little things. He'd loosen the water bottle, so when you go over to the boards and you take a squirt, it just douses you in the face. It's he did stuff like that. So yeah, I'm sure he got me. I don't really remember. I'm sure he got me those. He was doing that type of stuff all the time, but the big ones, not necessarily. He was awesome at it though. I mean, I know the one on 24/7. We all went out to dinner. I think we were in Buffalo, and he must have headed back or wasn't out to dinner with us. I don't really remember that circumstance, but he ended up, think about it, like nowadays, like you can't just get if I want to pull a prank on you, Greg's like, I can't go to the hotel and get a key to the room. But Flower had a way of coercing, maybe through PR or our travel coordinator, to get that key to the room, and went into, I think it was Ben Lovejoy's room and Mark Letestu. And they were both roommates, and went in there, took all the furniture, end tables, or side table, whatever, brought it out, and they set it up right in kind of the vestibule or the concourse area where you walk out of the elevator on the floor. And it was set up like a hotel room. Like they literally hung pictures. They had alarm clocks plugged in. So when the door opens and we come back from dinner, we all come walking out on our floor, and we're like, oh, this must be the wrong floor. We got back in the elevator. We look, it's the right floor. He just made it look like their hotel room, and just everybody knew it was Flower, and the rookies had to move all their stuff in before they went back to bed. So he'd go the full distance to get a prank. That's for sure.
Well, he had to be committed because he must have had an accomplice, because he can't move all that stuff himself, right?
I think he had Eric Goddard and Matt Cook, I think, were helping him with that. He got the big boys.
Goddard, the tough guy.
He's the brains.
He's
the brains behind the operation. He had some grunt workers with him.
Yeah, get some grunt guys to do the heavy lifting. He's probably just standing there smoking a cigar. No, Eric, put the couch over here. Put that table over there, Cook. Let's go.
The picture's a little crooked. Yeah, thank you.
Now, do you think Crosby, before we move on to anything, do you think Crosby is going to finish the season as a Penguin?
I think he finishes this season, yes.
Oh, you do?
I do. I think he finishes this season as a Penguin. I felt like this for a while, and I still do feel. Although the other day, I don't know, maybe I missed it earlier on, but it was kind of just that preconceived notion that Evgeny Malkin was going to retire after this season, and he came out the other day and said
No,
that's not the case.
no.
So I was kind of like, oh, that's interesting to see what that looks like, what it could mean. Um, I think at some point, say Gino finishes the season. I think this is his last season in Pittsburgh. So if he wants to continue elsewhere, he can do that. And depending on where the team's at during the regular season, maybe he gets moved before the deadline. Of course, if he wants to. But I think the only way Sid even ever, I think, leaves Pittsburgh is when he looks around and no one else is there from that core.
Okay.
And I put Mike Sullivan in that core too. Mike Sullivan was a big kind of first piece. Flower was years back, but then Sully. I think there's a trade market available here for Chris Letang. I know he's been working his tail off this summer, so I think he has something to prove in a lot of ways. So I don't think Sid goes anywhere this year, but next summer, I think anything goes. I think anything goes, and this year is going to determine a lot.
We are getting closer. Of course, we're past the halfway point of a preseason. The other big story, and I've been watching, I haven't seen any news yet today, but the injury to Barkov in practice yesterday for the Florida Panthers. It's his first skate. Anybody who missed it, they basically gave all their veterans an extra week off, Mike, something you don't see very often. Now, they did skate on their own, kind of like a captain skate, but they didn't skate with the coach until yesterday, and it was early in that session. In a pretty easy, simple drill, Barkov was coming out of the corner. He kind of circled around the top of the circle to take a shot. Now, Mikkola was there, but he didn't really touch him. And Barkov he went down awkwardly, looked like he fell on his knee, didn't put any weight on it. The trainers came out. They're carrying him off the ice, leaning on his shoulder, no weight on the leg, on the bench. The video shows he still wasn't walking off. And obviously, you're going to be ultra cautious. I'm sure they're like, hey, but if you're like, if it hurts, you're like, oh, you're going to try to put some weight on it. The fact that he put nothing on it is not a good look, unfortunately, for the Panthers.
No, it's not. It was nasty. And when you get those big guys like that too, and you get a couple big guys and Mikkola and obviously Barkov, it's a lot of legs and limbs that can kind of get tangled up and go down in weird ways. So you saw that. I think it was his right leg that kind of went under him a little funny. It wasn't good. We never want to see that with any player. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but just looking at the season, talking to people, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't see any team really pushing Florida. I know the season hasn't started yet in the East. Like, they're the team in the East. I think the East is going to be fairly weak in a lot of spots. And I remember, I just think to myself, the only way that they, I think, don't come out of the East again is if they kind of hurt themselves or they get injured. And that wasn't the thing you want to see before the season starts with Barkey, because he's so important. So I hope it's nothing serious, but it didn't look good in the fact that you just mentioned too, not putting any weight on it at all. I think the first thing you want to do anytime as a player, when it happened to me or other teammates, is like, you want to try to see if, you don't want to be the old parent that's like, walk it off, but you want to test it. Like, what do I have here? He didn't look like he even attempted that. So yeah, look at that right leg kind of going underneath him. Didn't really attempt that, even when he got off the ice and towards the hallway. So it wasn't great.
No, and that's obviously Tkachuk's out a few months. Thomas Nosek is out at least 4 months by the sounds of it, maybe longer. So for the two-time defending champs, obviously they're the best team in the NHL right now, but your depth's going to be tested for sure of Barkov, Tkachuk, and Nosek. Nosek, that fourth line was really, really solid for Florida. So that could be a tough start to the season for them. I know they don't really care about home ice advantage. Paul Maurice has talked about it. Goes, hey, you get in the playoffs, you're going to play good teams. That's just a fact. Like, and I love hearing it. Like, I get so tired of people, change the playoff format. Oh, the better teams. I'm like, dude. And I went back and looked at it. You go 1 to 8 in any difference. Guess what? 2 and 3 in each division is no different than 3 versus 6 and 4 versus 5. It's basically the same teams every year. It's just in a different order. So, and especially out west, it can mean significantly more travel. So I don't really think it's necessarily better. If you're good, you'll beat 4 teams. It's that simple.
If you are a team that can win the cup, you will find a way and get it done and beat whomever. So even when you look from the standpoint that we've seen every year LA not be able to get by Edmonton. Now, I think that I don't really know who and what LA is because I think they are a really good team. To me, though, that shows me that you're not ready to win a Stanley Cup if you can't figure out a way year after year to get past that team. Now, could they have gone to Western Conference Finals if they ever got by? Sure, but I don't know. For me, you find a way, and I think Paul Maurice hits that nail on the head.
Another, because there's not a ton going on right now. We will get into some of the contracts in a second, but the other story that's going to be watched and I think is going to be interesting, of course, the 5 players who got acquitted, they're able to sign with teams on October 15th and then play December 1st. So it's essentially like they're getting suspended for 20 to 25 games, depending on a team's schedule. Carter Hart, Dubé, McLeod, I think, are probably the top 3 that they'll garner interest. I'm not sure if Foote and Formanton will garner that much interest at all, but there's talk, Carolina, Vegas. We saw the story in The Athletic that Vegas, kicked out a reporter because he asked Noah Hannafin questions about it. Jordan Staal came out and, Jordan Staal, people probably forgot what happened to Jordan Staal. He got arrested, got put in jail, basically disorderly conduct at his brother's stag. And he says, hey, man, I was in jail. You do some dumb stuff. Now, that's different than what these guys did, but people do dumb things. My question to you, Rupper, as a former player, and, guys, when somebody's a teammate, you accept them at that time. It doesn't mean you forget everything, but you accept it. But do you think, like, if any team whichever team signs some of these players, does the captain or leadership core, do they sit down with that guy to say, okay, hey, you know what? You have a clean slate starting today with us, but nothing remotely close happens here. Because, well, they were found not guilty in the court of law. That doesn't mean they were found, innocent or not guilty of, some moral questionable decisions. I think that's fair. It's obviously in the public eye. Everybody saw the text messages. I don't know if you ever had to deal with something similar to that, but I know the organization will talk to the leaders, but do the leaders, if that guy signs on a team, do you see a leadership core having a meeting with that guy? How would that go?
I think you should. I mean, that's good. That's a good leadership and some good leaders to have in your room that can obviously see that. I don't think it's too hard to see that this needs to be addressed. You can't just go on. And the hockey locker rooms are such close knit groups, and there's trust. There's a lot of different things that go into it. It's not just playing the game. Where if there's an elephant in the room, man, it's going to cause trouble, and it's going, and especially ones of this nature, right? Like, who knows what kind of chord this could strike for many people inside the room. So it has to be addressed. I, I actually think the best route would probably be for any of these guys, if they get that opportunity, to hit it head on. They go to leadership. I want to speak to the team and talk about, this is what's changed, this is what happened, or this is, whatever the situation is. It has to be addressed. So to your ultimate question, yeah, I mean, if you have a good room and good leadership, you have to address it. But I'd like to actually see it come from the said player coming into the room first. It's going to be interesting. That article was interesting. We saw 2 different teams in that article, how they maybe are managing it and handling it. And I don't know what's the right way, but it's one that has to be handled. That's for sure. You can't just bring someone in and be like, we're a close knit group and we're going to go out there and let's go try to win a Stanley Cup. Like, no. Something has to be said before any of this gets going.
Yeah, Mark Lazarus, for anybody who hadn't read it, you can check out his article at The Athletic. And I do know, there's some managers who just said, I'm not interested. They just felt like they didn't want the noise. They didn't feel like it was the right time. I didn't get into in depth with these 2 general managers. Like, one guy just told me, goes, I just don't believe that's something I want on my team right now. So you're going to have varying, not everybody is going to welcome them in. From a player on ice perspective, Rupper, how do you think, like, opposing players, are these guys, is there a few of them that are going to be targeted, do you think, at some point?
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's just the nature of the game. There's things that are said out there that I think sometimes we can read lips. Sometimes nowadays with access and different sports, we hear some things and you're like, whoa, okay. And that's what it's like. I mean, there's a million things that are said that are offsides in the course of a hockey game. And maybe not all the time, every night, but at some point it'll come out where guys they'll hear it. So these guys are going to have to. This isn't something where yes, you can get your career back going, but they're going to hear it because at the end of the day, guys might say things even if they're okay with these guys being back in the league because you're just trying to find an edge, and that's what guys do. And you could say that's dirty. That's not being a good dude, whatever way you want to phrase it, but it happens out there. So I think opponents, they're going to, not every game, not every single night, but there's going to be moments where these guys are going to hear it, and I'm interested how they take it too.
Yeah, well, 100%. Like it will be an ongoing one, no question. So I'm kind of interested to see which teams there's some teams that have come out publicly and said that, we're not interested in Carter Hart. Now that just could be because their goaltending situation, but Philadelphia, Edmonton, a few others have said, they're not interested. One player on a completely different note, so I don't want to compare them at all, but Connor Ingram got placed on waivers by Utah. Connor Ingram had 2 really good years in Utah. And then last season he played 22 games at 882, left, had some mental health challenges, and now he's back. He's cleared out of the program. And I wonder, it's training camp. Rupp, some teams might look and say, hey, let's keep 3 goalies now, because it's not like there's a lot of time. Like, he hasn't played a game in a long time. And usually if you've got your starter selected, he's probably going to play at least 2 of your final 4 games right now. Like, at most, I'd have to look at every team's schedule. Some teams might only have 3 games left by the time you could get him into your team. What do you make of the Connor Ingram situation? And do you think he might just need to get back in the American League and show he can play? Or do you think a team will take a chance on him on waivers?
He might need to. I know that this is always a weird time of year just in general for players going into camp, because every year we see players and we do even this year, that don't have contracts. And you're like, how does that guy not have a contract for whatever he is as a player, maybe how he played last year?
Jack Roslovic.
Great example. And a lot of times this dates back, it's been like this forever, where you've got and I know Connor Ingram's not in this category, but this is just I'll get back to him in a second, but you've got your July 1st signings. You've got all the big things that come out, maybe like midway through July, that's quiet. Maybe there's a bigger name guy that's still out there weighing his options or whatever. But I think if you get to a point in the summer where teams have done their due diligence via the draft, or maybe even trades at the draft and free agency, where, all right, this is good. This is what we want to move forward with going into the season. And then you get into camp and you realize maybe this young player isn't quite ready. Maybe he needs a little bit more time. And then there's always this time of year opportunities that spring open. And so players of the past where you don't have a job, you don't like to hear it. I think a lot of agents are like, just hang tight. Let's be in shape, be ready in camp or camp time, because there's going to be opportunities. Maybe that happens here for Connor Ingram. I like him. He's had some pretty good runs as a goalie in the NHL at times. And you never know goalie situations from team to team if that's changed in camp. Maybe you've had some bad performances. Maybe there's injuries. But to your point, if there's not, you may need to go American Hockey League and kind of work your way back in. But he'll get an opportunity again here at some point, I believe. And I believe he deserves that.
Yeah, like, I think a team might look and say, hey, like, let's put him as a 3rd-man roster. Now, in theory, and I'm not saying they'll do it, but the Edmonton Oilers could start the season with Zach Hyman on LTIR. Uh-huh. And then they could carry 3 goalies if they wanted, right? Because that would give them the space to bring Ingram on and give him a chance. Now, 3 goalies for any period of time isn't the best situation. I'm just saying there could be other teams that are in that. There's lots of teams who have the cap space just straight up if they wanted to do, a 3 goalie situation, then 18 skaters, right? It's possible. Yeah. It's been done before. Some goalies hate it. I can tell you that they hate it, but you might look and say that goalie position, Rupper, we know it. It is the most unpredictable position in the game of hockey from year to year. Outside of maybe the top 5 or 6 goalies in the league, there's lots of other guys that have good year, average year, good year, average year. And then, heck, there's even Connor Hellebuck, who's Connor Hellebuck regular season. And then there's Connor Hellebuck playoffs. And you're like, what the hell is going on? So it's, and I know the Jets environment's a little different, but still, like, I don't care. Connor Hellebuck, they had the same team at home and the same team on the road in the playoffs, and it was night and day. It wasn't even close in everywhere. So that position is so unpredictable. Maybe, I wouldn't be shocked if Connor Ingram gets claimed, just because teams look around and say, geez, like, this guy had 2 pretty good years and he had 22 games. And you know what? I'm sure they'll do their due diligence. You talk to his agent, you talk to Ingram just to see, hey, like, what were you at? Kind of get to know the story as much as you can, because I know it's probably personal a little bit, but he's a fascinating one early. Like the waiver wire is always great because, there's lots of fans who think their guy, oh my God, he's going to get claimed for sure. But, lots of other teams have other players, 23, 24, who, geez, we're pretty close. And I know what I know. And lots of times that's why you see guys clear waivers and then he signs as a free agent the next summer somewhere else. And you're like, now this guy's in the league and you could have had him on waivers 2 or 3 times. But teams like, well, we don't really know. And it's, if you could accurately predict which waiver guys would be ready for the NHL, God, you could get some pretty good teams because there's been a really, Marty St. Louis, Ray Whitney, we go down the list of really good guys claimed on waivers.
No, it's true. And the big thing too is you can't figure everything out in training camp in preseason games. I mean,
no.
The other day I'm watching Devils Islanders game. Devils are dressed in a full pretty much NHL roster. The Islanders don't have much at all in their American Hockey League lineup. And I'm watching, I'm like, how do you really evaluate what's going on in this situation? So, there's things for these teams that aren't figured out in training camp and they maybe weren't presented in a way to figure out. So you start the season, and I think it's all teams sit here right now. Every team's excited for the start of the season. Every team thinks that they've done what they needed to do to at least be in a good place going into game 1. Well, when you get to game as early as game 4, game 5, if you're winless or you got an overtime game in there, you got 1 point. Now all of a sudden you start feeling the wheels shaking a little bit. And that's how quick things can change in the NHL. And then opportunities like this present themselves for some teams to be like, I'm going to go out and get this guy or claim this guy off waivers where, 2-3 weeks ago, I wasn't even thinking about it.
Yeah, no, very true. We're going to get Pat Puff in a second, and then we are going to get some contracts, some news on Kaprizov, and there's actually 125 pending unrestricted free agents in the final year of a multi-year deal. And I went through all 125. The article, it's pinned up on my my Twitter/X account. Anybody who's interested after you listen to this pod, there's some really good names. We can't go through all 125. And by the way, that doesn't include the 51 players who signed 1-year deals this year, Patrick Kane amongst others, who aren't eligible to sign a contract extension until the new year, but could be available as well. So there's lots of players. If we always start looking at who teams are going to add or not, because look at Florida, they won the Cup. Do they win the Cup if they don't add Seth Jones and Brad Marchand? Probably not. So Make no mistake, your opening day roster is going to probably look a lot different than your opening day playoff roster if you're a Cup contender.
Yeah, it's you said I checked that article out, and it's a lot. Like that's not just a lot numbers wise, but there's a lot of interesting ones on there too. So in a way, it's kind of broken down with the divisions. There's guys in there's. I don't know. I just feel this year, probably with the cap increase, there's going to be movement, man. There's going to be a lot of movement, and it might not wait till deadline. Deadline might be incredible. It might be the best deadline we've seen in some time. But then again, every time we say that, it kind of doesn't happen that way. But this year feels like the perfect storm for guys to get moved because of what the market is potentially with all these guys on the last year of their deal.
Yeah, so we'll get to that. But first, let's bring in Pat Puff for an edition of Fill in the Blank.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, Fill in the Blanks. Brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary. Bet365. Download the app, get in the game. Use code NATION. Bet365 must be 19 older. Please play responsibly. I know it's just preseason, but just curious, blank has impressed you already this preseason? Could be a team, could be an individual player, and if not, who's maybe disappointed you? Is there anyone you're hearing chatter about already, Gregs?
Well, I'm like the anti-preseason guy. Early in my career, oh, geez, look at this guy. Wow, he's playing great. And then, no, because the first 3 or 4 preseason games are lots of young junior players, lots of AHL guys, not many NHL guys. And nowadays, those NHL guys, they're out there because they have to be, because you have a minimum of 8 requirement. They just want to get through it. But I'll say this, young Schaefer on the island, that back check, I don't care, man. That back check, I looked and said, damn, that kid can skate. doesn't look good for the Flyers. But so I'm just going to say Schaefer specifically. He only played 17 games last year. He's 18 years of age. I'm not sold he's going to stay all year in Long Island, but for an early impression, just on skating skill alone and effort, I like him.
He can wheel. He can fly out there. I'm going to keep it in the Metro as well. There, you know who looks really good in the Devils uniform? Connor Brown. He looks really good. He looks good in the third line spot. Again, the other night was that game in particular was that game against a weak dressed Islanders team, but him, Cody Glass, Andre Palat, like these guys, they kind of give the Devils this role-playing line that can do a little bit of everything. So I'm excited to see if that sticks. Dodonov has been up on that top line with Hughes and Bratt. There's some changes in New Jersey, but they've been looking pretty good so far in the preseason.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Connor kind of came into Edmonton with, a couple question marks, but really found his game. So I think that'll be a good ad for the Devils. We'll keep it with the rookies here. Blank will have the most points this season as a rookie. Demidov on Bet365 is plus 190. Isaac Howard at plus 75. So Demidov, a huge favorite, followed by Michael Misa at 800. And if you say someone else, I can find their odds for you.
Oh, man. What do you guys think of Bouillon? Like, I kind of like, I know it's a defenseman, but hang with me. He very well could be running that power play in Minnesota. And so that can be an opportunity potentially to get, I don't want to say bonus points because they all matter and then count the same way. It'd be really hard for a defenseman rookie to lead in points. But I bet you the odds would be pretty good favor or pretty good payment, I should say, for you if you went there because the odds are probably not very good. I'll say that one really far off the board. I'll go with Z Bouillon.
Well, I like the fact because you pick a guy who's going to be on the power play. That's the only way you got a chance, right? And Kaprizov's there. They got some pretty good guys on that power play. So if he runs that would be a possibility. I know Demidov's kind of the easy one. I would think for a lot of people. I understand why. I look at that power play in Montreal. I'm gonna go though different. I'm gonna go Jimmy Snuggerud with the St. Louis
that's a good one.
Blues.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah. So we'll see what Jimmy does in St. Louis. We had Holloway had a great first year there last year. They got a lot of depth, and I think he's going to get a lot of opportunity there. So I'll go Snuggerud.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. Snuggerud plus 1,200. He's under Michael Misa, but yeah, we've already seen some promise from him, so that might be a good one.
Plus 1,200.
Yeah, there's some good juice there for sure.
$20 there.
And then
certainly get.
I'm going to throw you guys against each other on this one a little bit, but blank has the nicer alternate jersey this season: the Oilers or the Rangers?
I personally think this is an easy one. For me, I love the Rangers one, and it's nothing to do with me. You see a Rangers jersey over my shoulder, nothing to do with playing with them. I'm a sucker for certain shades of blue. Okay. Call me whatever you want. I love that one. The Oilers one kind of got me a little bit. I'm not a huge that's like a cream color, right? Like that's supposed to be like a retro. And I've never really liked when teams bring those in. I know they're the throwbacks. So I think that one kind of lost me a little bit.
Well, it's to me, until I see it on the ice, it's hard to really know, how's it going to look with the ice, right? Because lots of white and not that cream color. So at first when I saw it, I was kind of I don't know. The Rangers one, I'm kind of like, well, this looks a lot similar than a lot of other Rangers ones. It's just, it's the same Ranger color. They just got the words down the side of it. Like they used to have New York there. Now they have Rangers. That's okay. I'm probably the wrong guy on. I think there's too many jerseys. I kind of get tired of following all the jerseys. And I actually always thought the Oilers orange jersey was their best one. So I'll actually go with Rupper here too. I will say out of these two, I would go the Rangers with the caveat. I'm curious about what it looks like in an actual game. And I think the first time Edmonton wears theirs will be late October.
I think both should have laces though. I think that would add so much to both the jerseys.
Yes,
but,
very true.
They're not good point there. I got to see them on the ice and see what the teams do. And then the funny thing with all these jerseys are too, and there's times where I played on teams where you get third jerseys and you hate the jerseys, but if you win, you're wearing them all the time. When I was in Pittsburgh, we had the baby blues, and we were hot in those things. And Dana Heinze, our equipment guy, we were pushing those things out all the time because we felt hot in those ones, and we had a really good record. So we might see these jerseys more than originally planned, depending on how the team does, or maybe they'll squash them real quick if you stink in them.
Wow, yeah. No, that's very true. I think players have a big say more than people know. You lose a few in the New Jersey, get ready. Like, I know they're committed to have to wear them 7 times in Edmonton. I don't know what it is in New York. It's usually like 7, it's a 9. And you can always, I guess, ask to change it, but they make that announcement. Usually you're kind of stuck with it. But then the next year, like, where'd that jersey go? And you find, we sucked in that jersey, so we don't like it. And hey, man, some players are really, they're not superstitious, but they might be little stitious. So we'll see.
Yeah, you never know. I've played in a couple beer league teams where you put on a random jersey and you can't see your teammates out there, and the fans don't always think about that kind of stuff, so it matters. But thanks for the answers today, guys. I'll let you get back to it.
Yeah, what's your favorite jersey? Like, I know you got the Gretzky one in the background, jersey. Do you have one favorite that you wore in your career?
Favorite I wore. I really liked, what I really liked, wasn't my favorite, but I'll give an honorable mention. I liked in Minnesota, I think they still wear them like that. Maybe they're changed a little bit. Just the all hunter green.
Yes. Yeah.
And just the cursive Minnesota. I like those. I thought those looked clean. I didn't love the original jerseys that we wore there, so this was maybe the one I just liked wearing better. I probably would have to say, honestly, I'm a sucker for original 6, so it has to be the Rangers. I mean, it felt cool just wearing the blue shirt, blue helmet. The worst part with wearing all these different types of jerseys, though, for teams is like, as a player, usually means you got to break in another pair of gloves, pair of pants, whether you're getting a shell or actual pants, helmets, that kind of stunk. But I love jerseys. I've got, maybe this year we'll keep showing you some. I got a ton of jersey collection of just interesting jerseys that I love. No ties to them whatsoever. That I'm a sucker for a good jersey.
Okay, we might have to go through that one day. I love it. Now, before we go today, and great first episode, Rupper. I mentioned that list of 125 guys on multi-year deals. It's the final year of their deal. There's some huge names: McDavid, Kaprizov, Jack Eichel, Artemi Panarin, Bobrovsky, the Great 8. Although we all know he's not going anywhere. I don't think. He'd said, hey, I don't think I'm retiring. But John Carlson's another name, like they're Kyle Connor in Winnipeg. The cap is going up a lot, Rupper. And I see a lot of people, they're going to go short term. I don't think every guy is going to go short term. Even I think some big guys will go short, but I won't be shocked if a big guy goes long term here. I think it's going to vary from situation to situation. What are you hearing?
I agree. I think, when I was one of those who, we've been talking about a lot of these big name players for quite some time now, because we've known about it for quite some time. And getting into July 1st, you talk about it a little bit more. I thought that the big boys, because of the cap, because of the future of the cap continually rising, I'm thinking, you'd kind of be foolish not to go short term. If you look at it from the business standpoint, or what an agent would probably tell the player.
Yeah.
The more I'm sitting here, it's like, you think about it and trying to think of what the other side would be. And I think a big thing, in some players, maybe it doesn't matter. You always talk about the risk reward. But I think players, like say a Kaprizov, he's going to be 29 when this next contract starts. Say short term would be something like, at the end of the day, you get treated differently as a 33-year-old, 32-year-old than you do at 29 or 28 or 27. Like, that's just the nature of it. And you could sit there and think, oh, well, this is Kirill Kaprizov or this is Connor McDavid. Like, they're going to always get the best. Well, I mean, you still got to hold up a certain end of play, which they certainly should. They've shown no signs of slowing that down. I just think, for me, the Kaprizov situation it's got to be long-term or nothing, I think. And this is a guy he's been a little bit
long-term in Minnesota, or he goes.
I think it's long-term Minnesota, which that's a lot of pressure on, I think, that the Minnesota Wild, because the cap's growing. The agents know the cap's growing. You don't want to have your client sign for something, and then next thing you know, in the next 3 years, it's an 8-year deal. Next 3 years, he's getting boom, 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 boom. He's number 20 on the charts, or probably not that low, but you know what I mean. I find that he's going to, I believe, sign in Minnesota for the max deal, or he will not be in Minnesota. I don't really think there's any in between. So I could be dead wrong on that, but I think he's an interesting one that I've kind of flipped on, because I thought before it was short term. It was short term, but now you're sitting there and you're looking at it. I think it's long term or nothing.
Ooh. Yeah, well, that means some big cake then. We'll see. I think it's going to be fascinating negotiate. I still think a lot of the big names stay on their team. Eichel in Vegas, Kaprizov, Minnesota. Maybe one could move. It's just historically they don't move. Nowadays, there's even more cap space available if you have another kind of contract you don't love on your team. A guy who's making $8 million who maybe should be making $6 million. Well, now the cap's 113. It doesn't kill you as much as it used to, right? So I think a lot of the guys will be there. There's lots of available money this summer.
It's a good point, because there's a few guys I was going across that maybe haven't had career years or years, maybe even living up to their contract, where with the cap growing, I'm like, they may have bought themselves a little bit more time here, because a lot of times you can look and be like, all right, this defenseman makes X amount of dollars, but he ain't worth that. But you can't just replace somebody and make it work. Like there's a lot that goes into it. So I think it's bought some guys a little bit of time here. I think it's going to be fascinating, because we see this all the time, where whether it's the spending, the decisions that are made, eventually puts teams in pickles later on. And because you've gotten this allotment of room now, it'll be interesting to see which teams maybe are a little careless with it, and maybe you'll kind of be punished down the road.
Oh, I think the days of overspending will come back. There hasn't been a lot of crazy contracts from some mid-tier guys lately, but I think there's very good chance. With more space, more money, more problems, Rupper, and that seems to happen for GMs for sure. Well, Rupper, man, we're pumped to have you on the rundown all season long. I look forward to going back and forth with you all year long, every Friday here on DFO Rundown. So thanks for this, man. Enjoy the weekend, and next week we probably could have some more waiver claims, and we'll do a little preview for some of the divisions next Friday, man. Have a good one.
That sounds great. You too, buddy.
It's another edition of The Rundown, brought to you by Bet365. Have a great weekend.
Hey, hockey fans, if you enjoyed that video, then make sure you hit the subscribe button right here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. We have you covered for everything you need. Exclusive interviews on The Sheet with Jeff Merrick, all the latest hockey news on Daily Faceoff Live, and you can always get your morning started with Johnny Lazarus and Colby Cohn on Morning Cup of Hockey. Don't miss a minute. Hit that subscribe button.